Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be giving you 7 tips on how to sell your art online. If you haven't started selling art online, I would highly recommend it. It's an easy way to reach people from all over the world. But there's a lot that goes into it, so I hope through this video that you'll be able to understand it better. You'll be able to find some places to sell your art online, get some tips so that you can start seeing some profits fairly soon. So let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is where to sell. There's kind of 3 different subtopics that I'm going to be briefly talking about. And the first one is through social media. Social media is an easy way to sell your art because it's free. You can sign up for a Facebook page, you can have a Twitter account, an Instagram account, and through all of these you can easily just present your art, and you can use proper hashtags and hopefully get it seen from people around you and far away from you. If you have a Facebook page, you can definitely post your art there because it's your own page. There's also a lot of different groups on Facebook you can join. I'm a Canadian artist, and so I've joined different Canadian art groups, and I've actually sold recently a painting in one of those groups. So social media is a great way to get your art out there, get it seen by a lot of people, and maybe even turn some sales. There's a lot of different art websites that are platform websites that will sell your art for you. You can just upload it, and they bring a lot of traffic in already. I made a whole video actually talking about many of these websites. I'll link it below. It's called Where to Sell Art Online, and I go through about 12 different platforms, including places like Fine Art America, ArtPal, Etsy, Zazzle, different companies like that. Some of them will take a commission from you, some of them have a listing fee. They all have kind of different regulations, so you have to go and see each one as they are. But I've found that posting my work on that has created sales that I otherwise wouldn't have had. Actually, my first ever sale, locally or internationally, was through Etsy, and it was to a lady in Switzerland. And I mean, I never would have had that first sale if I wouldn't have been using one of these websites. So they definitely can be worth it if you want to look into that. And the last place that I'll talk about briefly here where you can sell your art is your own website. I've had my own website for about 2.5 years now, and I think it's been very worth it. I know that people who are looking to buy art, if you have your own website, then they will take you more seriously. You can create free websites through places like Weebly or Wix or WordPress, or you can buy your own domain. Like me, I've bought my own domain, and so it's just www.briansloanartist.com. And I find that having that there, having all my works available for everyone to see, is just an awesome thing to have. All right, so tip number 2 is write good descriptions. I think one of the most important things after creating your product, if you're wanting to sell it online, creating your painting or whatever kind of art you do, is to have a good description. Nothing will drive a customer away from you if you don't have a description, or you only have maybe the title and the dimensions. It's important that the person viewing your art can make a connection with it. I've found that people are more likely to buy your art if they know the story behind it, what inspired you to create it. Is there a story that goes along with the painting itself or the piece of art itself? Just knowing, having that ability to write a good description will definitely help. And this also includes writing down what materials you used. So for me, I would write down, this is on a stretched canvas. I used acrylic paint. I used a satin varnish to finish it. By including those things, customers are more able to get a feel for how you are and feel that the quality of your piece of artwork is high. And that goes into tip number 3, and tip number 3 is shipping. I remember when I got that first sale on Etsy, I was super nervous about shipping it overseas. It was the first time I'd even shipped a painting. And so there's multiple ways you can ship a painting. Depending on the size, you can use like a reinforced envelope, a cardboard box. You can roll it into a tube. You can use a crate. The most economical way that I've found for medium-sized to larger-sized paintings is by rolling it in a tube. And that's how I shipped my first painting to Switzerland. Actually, was I took it off the stretcher bars and rolled it into a tube with the stretcher bars on it. And then once it arrived, the lady who had purchased it was able to just put it back on the stretcher bars, and then it was all good to go. I find that using a tube is a little bit safer than, you know, a cardboard box or something. It's less likely to get punctured or kind of get warped or bent if it's in a box. But if you're shipping your painting framed, or the customer wants it left on the stretcher bars, then you can definitely ship it with a cardboard box. It's also important to know the dimensions and the weight of your painting or your piece of art, because many websites will want you to insert that information, or if you're running your own website, then you can put in that information so customers know about how much shipping is going to cost them. For me, living in Canada, it's a lot cheaper for me to ship to Canada or the United States than it is to ship to Europe, for example. And so it's important for me to do my research beforehand. So if somebody asks me, oh, how much would this cost? Or they can look on my website at the product itself. How much is this going to cost to ship to me? It's easy for them to access. Because if they aren't able to easily access that information, they might just not consider buying it anymore. If you've never shipped a painting in a tube before, I would encourage you to check out a video that I've made. It's just a small tutorial where I take a painting off the stretcher bars and roll it into a tube and show you the step-by-step process of how to do that. And I will link that in the description below. Also with shipping, it's important that you use insurance and tracking. It depends on the carrier that you're using, whichever one you end up using. Just do your research, know how much insurance coverage you get, and if you can add on more if you need to. I know that customers always appreciate a tracking number so that they can track their piece of art as it's traveling to them, and they can know when it's going to arrive. All right, tip 4 is payments. Talking about money. There's a lot of scams going around where people are, I've gotten a few emails where it's like, oh, I noticed my wife looking at your artwork. Could you send some and then I'll send money, or I'll send a check or something like that. Don't listen to those ones. It's important. I always say that you either have money in your bank account before you are shipping anything, or if you're using websites like Etsy or Fine Art America, that the purchase has officially gone through before you send anything. The websites like that will usually pay you either bi-monthly or monthly, and so you obviously won't be getting money right to your bank account if something sells, but those ones are safe. So for me, on my website, I usually just use PayPal. If somebody is contacting me directly, say somebody local or somebody I know that lives somewhere else, I will accept PayPal payments or direct e-transfers to my bank. So I know that the purchase has been made, and then I can ship the painting. If you've been commissioned to do some work, I always take a 30 to 50% fee right off the bat so that I can go get materials and work on it. And then once it is finished, then I will collect the rest of the payment before it is shipped. I will usually send the customer a picture of the final product so that they're happy with it, and then they can send me the payment, and then I will ship the final painting. So just be careful with dealing with scammers and the money part of online, selling art online. All right, tip number 5 is photos. This one is also super important. I can't stress enough the importance of photos. This doesn't mean that you have to go buy a $3,000 camera. I actually just use my my phone most of the time. Every once in a while, if I have the chance, then I'll use a more expensive camera. But for a lot of my photos, I just use my phone, and it's just a Samsung S6, so it's pretty old too. but it takes great photos. I think one of the most important things when taking a photo is stability and natural light. So I use a tripod when I'm photographing my photos, and I try to go outside into natural light. So the lighting is even, and it's not fluorescent or incandescent or anything like that. There's a lot of different, I guess, options you can do when taking photos of your paintings. I always prefer to have one straight on that I can crop, and so it's just the painting itself. I know most websites, if you're using platforms like Fine Art America or Etsy, they always like you to have kind of that cropped, so it's just the painting or just the piece of art itself. But there's a lot of other different options that I know people like seeing. So you can have a close-up shot. Say you painted a bear and you can do a close-up shot of its face so people can see the details on its face. You can also do a photo of your signature on it so people can see what the signature looks like. You can do a photo of the artwork in your work area or on an easel. It's good to do one of the back of the artwork so people can see what the back of the artwork looks like. If I can, and if I remember to while I'm painting, it's always good to do progress photos as well. I know people always enjoy seeing kind of the progression of how the piece of art comes along. If you're able to, it's always great to have pictures of it in a frame or on the wall, because then people are more able to picture it in their own home, and they're able to kind of get that visual of what it could look like for them. Just do your best. Make sure you have multiple photos of it, not just one. I think it's always good to have that framed or studio view or something else, just so people know that it is real, because a lot of times you can just crop a photo online and some people will try to scam that way, but by showing it in a situation or you with it, it's always good to take a photo with you with it, and then people will know it's legit and they'll enjoy that more. Tip number 6 is to share your products. So this comes back into social media, goes back into networking with people in your area or online. Just sharing it as much as you can. Share it on Pinterest, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it anywhere you can. There's some websites like ArtFinder, ArtPal, that they have an integrated Twitter system in it where you can easily share your new painting after you've posted it, your new artwork. But by sharing your products, you're more likely to get people to see them. I've also found that sharing other artists' artworks is also a good idea, because then they will reciprocate the favor and most likely share some of your artworks as well. Collaborating with artists is a great way to share other people's art and your own art as well. And tip number 7, last but not least, don't worry if sales don't happen immediately. Just like anything, it's going to take time to build a following. It's going to take time to get your artwork in front of people, but it is worth it to start. I'll give you Etsy for an example. I opened my Etsy shop in 2016, and I had one sale. In 2017, in that one sale though, did turn into a 5-star review, so it was good for my shop. In 2017, I got 2 sales and another 5-star review, so it doubled. In 2018, I sold 4, which was awesome. And then last year, I'm actually now up to 22. And so it's taking a few years, and I'm not making a living off of selling my art, but it is growing, and it has taken some time, but it is good. I've got commission works every couple of years from different websites. All of it just adds up. It's a great way to get your art in front of different people. And again, it's going to take some time. You're probably not going to see immediate turnaround, but it definitely is worth it to look into. So just a quick recap: where to sell your art. There's social media, there's different art platforms. You could sell on your own website. Make sure you're writing good descriptions. Make sure you have the dimensions, how it's going to ship, the story behind it, what products you use to make it. Make sure you know how you're going to ship it. That's very important, so customers will know how it's going to reach them, and make sure you always have a tracking number and insurance on it. Make sure you, tip number 4, make sure you receive payment before you ship anything. I would never accept checks. Make sure you know it's going right into your bank account. Tip number 5, make sure you're taking good photos of it. Nothing like a bad photo to drive away customers. So use natural light, use something to stabilize your camera so that you get a good crisp, clear photo. Share your products. That's what selling art online is all about. Sharing your products, sharing your artwork with those around you. Share other artists' artwork so that they can then return the favor and share yours as well. And last tip again, don't worry if it doesn't start growing fast right away. Keep on going, keep on creating. The more you create, the more you can put out there. And I know you'll do great. So if you're interested, check out my other video of where to sell artwork online. And I know that one will help you get started if you don't know much about the different platforms or how to do that. And if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask. You can reach me here on YouTube or on my website, www.briansloanartist.com. So give this video a like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time on Brian Sloan Artist.